Hey, welcome back to Ant on Music. I'm your host, Anthony Ragone, and this week we're going to be taking a look at some new releases and re-releases that have come out over the past week or so. A couple that got a little lost, or I should say took a trip in the mail somewhere, and they finally ended up here with me where they belong. I was very fortunate that last week I was able to catch Peter Gabriel live at Madison Square Garden in New York City, and it was an amazing show. Peter has a few of his regular co-conspirators with him. Tony Levin, who has been on so many albums and tracks over the years. His history goes all the way back to Peter's first album when he started playing bass for him in Chapman Stick, and even further back when he played with King Crimson. He's along for the ride. David Rhodes is back, as well as Manu Katché, who is an amazing, amazing drummer. He also has some new people on board, and they took a different take on music. They have some cello, some violin, French horn. Really gives a different vibe to the music. One of the people that I'd like to mention is this young lady right here. Her name is Ayana Witter Johnson. Ayana is an English musician. She plays cello, keyboards, and does vocals for Peter on this tour. This was the tour book that I picked up last week while I was there, and it's for the I.O. tour, Input Output. Ayana is awesome. She took up the vocals that Kate Bush did on Don't Give Up, and it was simply mind-blowing. She's an amazing talent, and I got a feeling she's going to have a really, really great career in music. If you get a chance, do yourself a favor. Go and check out Peter Gabriel on this tour. Who knows when he's going to tour again, if he tours ever again. He is in his 70s. These guys that produce this fantastic music aren't getting any younger, but do yourself a favor, check that out. Now let's get into the music. All right, so what do we got this week? Well, one of the things that I found in my travels this week was the Black Crowes War Paint. Now, I know this album came out way back in the early 2000s. Got a very cool cover, but it has been re-released, and it comes in this really cool splatter red and white color. Give you a look at that. It is gorgeous. Look at that. And it really is a good album by the Crowes. This is after all the fighting was done, and they said, hey, you know what? It's time to return to the fold after they had done things separately. Chris and Rich each had their solo careers for a while. There was Brothers of a Feather. There was the Magpie Salute. There was the Chris Robinson Brotherhood. But this is them getting back with the band. Mark Ford did not make it onto this album. Instead, they replaced him with Luther Dickinson, who does an excellent job. The album kicks off with Goodbye, Daughters of the Revolution, has some other outstanding tracks on here, Evergreen, We Who Sell the Deep. Also on side 2, you have moving on down the line, Wounded Bird, God's Got It, and it finishes up with 2 really strong tracks. There's Gold in Them There Hills and Woe a Mule. If you don't have this album and you're into the Crowes, definitely pick it up. It's an awesome album. I'm a huge Black Crowes fan. Seen them a few times. Most recently was last summer. Good friend of mine, Angelo Santilli, who is a musician himself and plays around here in the Hudson Valley. He said, hey, Ant, what you doing? I got an extra ticket. You want to go? And the time before that, I saw the Crowes with Angelo. We caught them opening up for Tom Petty. They're always outstanding live. If you have never seen the Crowes live, do yourself a favor. Check them out as well. Next up, what we have here is one of the monster sets that came in this week. You will learn over time, if you continue to watch me here, that I am a huge, did I say huge? Huge Marillion fan. This is a re-release of their live album for when they played the Ra. That's the Royal Albert Hall. And it has all of their latest album at the time, which was Fear. And this thing is a monster. It is 4 vinyl slabs. It is amazing. And this album, when they did the re-release on this, they re-released it all on crystal clear vinyl. In addition to the album Fear played in its entirety, they were joined by In Praise of Folly, which is a string quartet that plays on additional tracks as well. They hit some of their highlights with The Space, Afraid of Sunlight, Great Escape, the Marillion Standard, which is Easter, that's played, and Steve Rothery, on top of being one of the most outstanding guitarists in modern prog, is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I've had the chance to meet Steve a couple of times, and he truly is a gentleman, phenomenal guitar player. Great live album from Marillion, and the title, if I forgot to tell you, is All One Tonight, live at the Royal Albert Hall. If you're a Marillion fan, you probably already have it. If you're not, and you want to check something out, this is a decent place to start for Marillion, Latter Day Marillion. Really good album. You're going to want to check that out. Next up, what we have here. This is the only new release, I think, out of the bunch this week. And this is also Modern Prog Masters. Roy Stolt and company. His brother Michael is back in the fold. Laura Lawson, Jannica Lund, Hasse Brunensen. If these names don't seem to make much sense to you, they are a Swedish band. They do sing in English, for those of you that don't know. And oddly enough, for a prog band, they have only one song that's over 10 minutes, and that's the closer. That's called Look at You Now. But they have some great songs on here. The first track that they released is a single. Beginner's Eyes is excellent. The Dream, Hollow Man, The Queen, Mother Earth, Season's End, Scars, Day for Peace. I mean, there's so many good tracks on this. It continues on their path of moving more and more into not so much the mainstream, but getting more appreciated in prog rock circles. They've been around since the 90s, and it is a great album. They released this one. This edition that I have is limited to 300 copies worldwide. It came with this little calling card, if you wish, and it has autographs from the band members on there. And in addition to being limited to 300 and being on heavyweight vinyl, it is also colored vinyl as well, which is always cool to see spinning on your turntable. This one is a gorgeous blue, and they've been around forever. I own everything they've put out. They've been on a re-release campaign through Sony, doing all of their albums along with CD through the Sony Music label, which is fantastic. Some of this stuff was never released on vinyl. This is their 16th album, and they are excellent. The inside of it has the lyrics for the album. So, Flower Kings, love them as well. If you're not familiar with the Flower Kings, you may know Roy Stolt from, he's toured with Steve Hackett, and he is also part of Transatlantic, which is one of the great supergroups in Prague, which is Neil Morse, formerly of Spock's Beard, Mike Portnoy, formerly of Dream Theater, who also plays with the Winery Dogs, and then you also have Roy and Neil all together, and Pete Trewavas of Marillion. How can I forget Pete? Pete would shoot me. Just great stuff. If you've never heard Transatlantic, they've basically called it a day, supposedly. Hopefully there'll be something else coming about sometime in the future, but they feel they've done their part over the past 20 years or so, putting out the albums that they've put out. Maybe one day I'll get into all their stuff and go through all the stuff that I have of theirs in my collection. Next thing we have is a re-release of this album, Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home was the last album by St. Vincent. That's her stage name. Her real name is Annie Clark. Interesting thing about Annie is that she was the part of the Polyphonic Spree, which had a couple of hits early in the 2000s. She struck out on her own, and she has been releasing albums under the name St. Vincent since then. Now, this is the original album. It comes, basic black vinyl. She's on the Loma Vista label, and that also was the label of Ghost. But this was the re-release. So the re-release, it's limited to 2,500 copies. Okay, it's got alternative artwork, as you can see. That the cover obviously is different than what was on the original, and it also comes with this poster of Annie, and on the back side is the lyrics for the album, and this one comes on a very cool black and white marbled album. Always like the colored vinyl. Like I said, looks great on the turntable. Gives you something to look at. And this album has some great tracks on it. Pay Your Way in Pain, excuse me. Down and Out in Downtown. Title track, Daddy's Home. The Melting of the Sun. Also, Somebody Like Me. At the Holiday Party. And Candy Darling to close it out. It's one of her fantastic albums. I really dig Annie, or as I should say, St. Vincent. She has worked with David Byrne as well, and that brings us to our next release, which is Talking Heads. All right. This is a re-release of their Stop Making Sense album, and this actually adds a couple of additional tracks. It adds in Cities, Big Business, and I Zimbra, which were eliminated from the original release on soundtrack. And this goes along with the re-release of the movie that is still in theaters. I've got to get to it. I've got to go check it out. I've seen it on the small screen, but I really want to see it on the large screen. It includes, it's almost like a tour book. It has all the photos that were in the original album release and CD release when this first came out. And in addition to that, it also has additional essays from each of the band members. And this has a big fold out in the middle. Gives you an idea. If you remember way back when this first came out, Jonathan Demme was the director of this of the movie Stop Making Sense, and it was really cool the way it opened up. It just had David Byrne come out by himself with a beatbox, and slowly the band was added, and it just took off from there. This album, basically just regular black vinyl, but it's heavyweight vinyl, so that should be a pretty good listen. And the next thing that I have up is another monster. It's a re-release. This is Jerry Cantrell. All right. This is the Degradation Trip. Jerry Cantrell put out this album, I think it's, how long ago is it now? 20 years ago. Wow. 20th anniversary of Degradation Trip Volumes 1 and 2. And on this album, Jerry has Mike Puffy Borden of Faith No More, along with Rob Trujillo of Metallica and Suicidal Tendencies fame. And this album, if I can get this out of the sleeve, it is also another huge set, 4 slabs of vinyl. Both volumes 1 and 2 come in this beautiful seafoam green, and it's a great album. You know, Jerry, is the driving force behind Alice in Chains. No offense to Will Duvall, I love Will and vocals, but what Jerry did with Lane Stanley and Alice in Chains was just amazing. This album was like a big big return to form for Jerry. He also had Boggy Depot, which is another good album from him. This has Psychotic Break, Own, Bargain Basement Howard Hughes, Mother Spinning in Her Grave, The Glass Dick Jones, Hellbound, Spider Bite. And it's not as if, Volume 2 on this has leftovers. Chemical Tribe, What It Takes, Dying Inside, Hurts, Don't It, Pig Charmer, SOS, Give It a Name, Thanks Anyway, and 31/32. And this is everything that was released on that. 4 slabs of vinyl and 2 sleeves. It also comes with this giant jumbo book of photos and all the lyrics from the original. It's always nice to have these things because I had this on CD, still do. It's somewhere in one of the racks behind me. But it's great to have it on vinyl because now, as you can see, I'm wearing glasses. It's easier for me to read it on this than even with the glasses looking at the CDs, because as you get older, you start squinting and it's like, what the hell is here? But yeah, this is just, great re-release on the 20th anniversary of this. And this came out a couple of weeks ago. And this was obviously wandering the countryside before it arrived here for me to give it a listen to. And I've always loved this album, and it's great to spin it on vinyl now and, really crank up the bass and everything. It's phenomenal. I also got 2 other, these little discs, these small things, from Marillion. I have a pretty extensive Marillion collection. It's upwards of 250 albums. Maybe one month I'll do a Marillion video for everybody if anybody's interested. This album is Silent and High, The Making of Sounds That Can't Be Made, which is pretty cool. Sounds That Can't Be Made is one of my favorite albums by them. Got to see them on that tour. I also have the what they call, Marillion has their campaign versions, which is they have you pay for the album up front before it's even worked on. And, it's like a week in a prayer. You hope that the music's going to be good, and Marillion never disappoints. They never disappoint me. This is a 2 CD set that has basically all the demos, the workings of the album that they went through that ended up becoming Sounds That Can't Be Made, which is really a high point for me in the Marillion catalog. And the final thing I have to show for you this week is Painting for Gold, The Making of Fear, Marillion's last album that kind of ties in with the live album All One Tonight, live at the Royal Albert Hall. And this obviously is all the stuff that went into the making of the album Fear. It's a 2 CD set. Runs through some stems and things like that, and then like demo versions of the actual album before it got finalized and put out for everyone to enjoy. So that's all I have for you this week. Hope you enjoyed this. Please, 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 please subscribe. Tell your friends about this. I love sharing my music collection with people. Hopefully, I'll continue making these videos. Hopefully people out there enjoy them. It would be great to get feedback from anybody on anything regarding what I have. If you have questions about something, you want me to go into more detail, I'll be more than happy to get back to you. If you like the video, say so. If you don't like the video, say that too. I'm open to criticism. So, thanks for checking this out. Once again, I'm Ant. This is Ant on Music. Peace, love, music. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care and talk to you later.